How you doing today, folks? This is episode 2 in 3 episodes I filmed today. In the first episode, I showed you some frost damage on my plants, the perfect bird feeder, and some beautiful paperwhite bulbs I purchased. So if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll put a link down in the description if you want to take a look at it. And then in this video, we're going to go ahead and keep doing some pruning. If you could do me a favor and just take a moment now and like the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, I'd appreciate that very much. Now let's get to the video. All right, folks, we're back at it today, and I got my knee pad down here, and I'm trying to get in and do the finish pruning on the shrub. And I just want to show you folks, you know, when you get these overgrown shrubs, you'll sometimes get branches like right here. So this, you know, it's got a whole bunch of dead stuff on the tips, but it's dead all the way back to the stem. And then the same here. There's this one. This one might actually just break off. You got one over here, and there's a little bit of live wood. Excuse me. But what you're going to do is when you get in here, you know, if the branch has any green on it, well, there's a little bit of green on that one. So what happens is this branch comes up and there's one branch growing through the shrub, which is dead anyways, and, you know, just leaving this whole mess. So what you're going to do is just get your pruners out, or your Falco 600. See link in description, and just cut off these nubs. I mean, that's just a bunch of dead wood. It looks ugly and it's blocking room for new growth. And then you see down here, you see this guy? So yeah, there's one long branch on this guy. See that? But I already cut it. And I noticed that a lot with sheared hollies, that you know, it's just like anybody's business, no man's land on the inside of these sheared shrubs, because nobody ever gets in and cleans out the foliage. So I'm even gonna come over here. Well, first I'm gonna clip this one so I don't screw up my camera. We'll think about that one. But you see here, you see this one, which is going over towards the sidewalk. So we're just gonna clip it. And let me pull this out. So you see this, folks, when you're pruning your holly that are overgrown, you're going to have a ton of these branches growing like through the shrub the wrong way. And I mean, do whatever you want to do, but it just, you don't want branches crossing through the shrub like that. You don't want to leave all this dead wood in here. So thin it out, and eventually it'll start to either grow new shoots at the base there, or, you know, some of these small shoots will just keep growing and form new branches. But because we thinned all this junk out, they'll have somewhere to grow. You know, and I wish I could tell you it was going to take you 5 minutes with a pair of hedge clippers to make a ball out of a shrub, but it doesn't. It takes longer. However, if you do this from the start, from the time you plant the shrub, and if you keep up with it, it is going to take less time, and you won't even know when the shrub was pruned. This one, it could still go either way. Whether this one's going to live, I don't know how it's going to come back. I mean, it was ridiculously overgrown. But you know, this is doable. It feels awkward the first few times you come out and prune, but I assure you that you can do it, and if you make a mistake, the shrub is going to grow back. Just be patient. All right, folks, this holly is definitely getting pretty sparse. And I guess one thing I should mention is if you don't want to go through all this work, if you want the quick and easy solution, early spring, grab your pruning saw and just cut the shrub down anywhere from 1 to 2 feet above the ground. And then just let it flush out and regrow. And you can save all this pruning I'm doing. The pruning I'm doing is usually more for a shrub that's been maintained over the long term as a selectively pruned shrub. But, you know, for what we're doing, I still think it's better to leave a 3 to 4 foot shrub than something that's cut back to the ground. If you cut it to 1 to 2 feet, it'll probably push 6 to 12 inches of growth in one season. But I feel that just having whatever's left here is better than cutting to the ground. But it depends on the job, it depends on the budget. It's infinitely easier to just, you know, hack and whack a foot 1 to 2 feet above ground. You could do that with the blue holly, you could do that with the Olga, and you know, they're gonna grow back. I like it better this way. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, depends on time. These birds keep coming around. I don't even think there's a nest in here. I think they just hang out. When you're doing this, if it's been sheared, the shrub has been sheared, you'll find these branches like this one here, and you see how you can see where it's been pruned before, right there, and then you get this like explosion of growth at the end. And this is pretty much exactly what we're trying to prevent. So what I usually do is if I see them, I just cut them off at the tip. And maybe that was in here somewhere. But you wanna layer that growth back in. It might have been actually over here too. You see that? So by cutting that back, we're going to encourage more buds deeper in the shrub. It's going to fill out. So this is kind of neat, folks. There's some branches down here that have kind of run into the mulch. Over time, they've gotten mulched over. And here's one. So they started to root. So if you look at this, again, this isn't really normal, but this is what's known as layering. So if you take a shrub like a holly or a rhododendron and just bury the branch in some dirt, it's going to start growing some roots. So if you wanted more of these holly, you could just take these to your yard somewhere, plant them. It's going to take them a while to get established. There's not much for roots, and they'll start growing. So down at the bottom here, we really want to leave as many of these little suckers as we can. I mean, I prefer them to be within like 6 inches of the shrub or so, not to be the stuff that I just pulled out that was way out here. But what you try to do is leave these, and again, now that there's more light and air in here, these guys are what's going to start to beef up the shrub. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's new growth on the green stems that I cut next year as well. I mean, this is just, you know, go back to the first day we were here and compare how much air and light is getting in now compared to what was there. I mean, you couldn't grow anything. You couldn't even grow a hosta under there. It was so dark. And now, I mean, I don't think you're going to see any scale on this shrub. You know, when the guys do the leaf cleanup, they can just blow the leaves through it. Next spring, it's going to get some fresh buds and bud out. And we're not going to have this barren landscape that looks like it was just hacked. Do I think it's worth it? Yes. Does it take a lot of time? Yes, too. The decision's yours. Next, I want to focus on underneath the Olgas. And first off, this is thistle in here. Always wear gloves if you're pulling thistle. And then you see how underneath, now that the thistle's gone, we don't need the gloves. You see how underneath some of these branches either got covered with mulch or they, you know, they just grew suckers. So what I'm going to do under here is basically just prune all these out, and it really depends on the circumstances. This shrub is healthy enough. I don't think that the main stems are going to die. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all these suckers out, and then I'm going to go through these olgas and just try to prune some of the dead stuff out in the middle here as well. I just reached under the shrub right where you see that hole and pulled at the suckers, and look what I got. So this is, you know, this is a healthy olga. So if you were to take this and just plant it somewhere else in the yard, it would do perfectly fine. The thing is they're very delicate at this stage. So whereas a shrub this stage has tons of roots, and if it dries out, it'll be fine, a shrub at this stage is going to need to be kept well watered until it gets more roots on it. So I've been looking over here at this Fothergilla major, large Fothergilla, and I really like the way that's looking today. But as I'm looking over here, I'm noticing, you see this vine coming through here? This is Celastrus orbiculatus, or Bittersweet, more sweet than bitter. And this, it grows, you see how it's circling around there? It'll grow, you know, around stuff and just choke them out over time. And it's a very easy weed to spot for the most part. And as soon as you see it, you just gotta, like I said earlier in the series, try to get the root out, because if you just prune it, what happens is it comes right back. So, you know, somebody did see it and cut it off right here, and they probably, well, here it is. So this right here would be the base of that vine, but it just grew up again, and it just keeps wrapping around stuff, and it'll choke it out eventually. And if you see it in in its infant stage, this is Bittersweet that's, you know, just coming up. Probably grew just this year. But this is an invasive in Connecticut, so, you know, just get rid of it as soon as you see it, and try to get the roots. I just had to walk over here. This is actually across the street. But this is most likely a Bloodgood Japanese maple. Early November. It's got red foliage all year, and it actually gets like a more iridescent red before the leaves drop off. And the propagators have just gone nuts with these, and they come in all different forms now. But usually, if you see one this size, it's a Bloodgood Japanese maple. Okay, so I just bumped my head on the bottom of the window, getting up from pruning, so I guess the day's complete now. But I just want you to see this one branch here that's kind of coming over. You know, you really have to squish to get through there. So this is your opportunity to get in there and make it so you don't have to kill yourself or the next guy to maintain the landscape. So I like this distance from the house much better, especially with that one branch removed. And I'll be honest, if I was going to do this again, I would probably plant all these shrubs. Most likely it would only be a foot away from the house, a foot farther away from the house. So wherever they're planted now, another foot out. But you could easily do 2 feet out, because again, things grow in time. If this landscape, the pruning was kept up with, it wouldn't be such a mess. But I want you to remember how things looked when we started this, and what a mess it was back here. And it looks a lot more sparse, but I don't think it looks horrible. You know, there's a basement window here, and you really want to try to avoid piling the mulch against the window like this. It's really not good. It can be a way for the water to get in there. So you want to try to not pack mulch against windows like this, And if I go back to when I originally did this, you know, the best thing to do would be to install what's known as a window well. If you go to any of the big box stores, they'll sell these steel, it's like a C-shaped piece of metal that you can put in front of it, or you could even do like some bluestone or something, whatever you want to do. There used to be a guy I went to that made them out of concrete. It really matched very well. But what you do is you put a window well in, you lower the grade underneath the window like 4 inches or so, and then you just put a little bit of gravel in there, you know, like a bag or two of bag gravel. And that way, you know, all this junk never gets in the window. You leave the window well up like 4 inches above grade, so there's no way, you know, mulch or water is ever going to get in there except for what drips down from the top. So just if you have a window like this, you know, think window wells. And I've got a couple windows in my house. Maybe over the winter we'll do some work with those. And then the next thing I just wanted to say was, you know, again, this landscape got away from these folks, but, you know, do your best not to let vines climb the house like you're seeing over here. I mean, these vines, I'm trying to pull these vines, and you see how they've gotten under the siding. Like, this is all coming out. So you really don't want that. So probably what I'll end up doing is just cutting them before they go under the siding and just leave them there. But it's, you know, just another way for, as they grow, they're going to push the siding out, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if this oil fill is the one they use or not, but, you know, you also want to do your best to leave a path so the guy that delivers the oil can get it through in the middle of a rainstorm, in the middle of a snowstorm. I got a little more drastic in this corner. So this Enchanthus, if you go back to the first video, it was, you know, all the way over touching the house on the left, and it was like a big mushroom. And that's, you know, another thing that happens when you constantly shear shrubs is they turn into big mushrooms. You really want your shrubs to be maybe a touch bigger at the top, but usually pretty much the same width from the ground to the top. But when you keep cutting just the tip of the foliage, it gets bushier up top, gets fatter up top. So anyways, I just wanted to show you what my thoughts are here. So I got this branch would have been growing somewhere over there, so it's gone now. And what I'll end up doing is taking off these couple branches here. Enchanthus really wants to have more of an upright habit, so we'll do that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, you can kind of see where somebody pruned it back here, and then it would have grown a little more. Somebody would have pruned it, would have grown a little more. And look at how many branches there are in the bottom of the shrub. And then the more up you get, the more finer the branches get. So all that growth is up top. So this one is going to kind of stand out like a sore thumb. There's no way around it. However, it's going to grow out. By pruning the top, we will encourage some more growth down below. And if it doesn't grow down below, we'll have this kind of funky multi-stemmed Enchanthus, and I will take that out. And then somebody in an earlier video had said, you know, could you bring, oops, I just walked into a car. Could you bring some more shrubs in? And I think what I would say on this one is I would let everything flush out next spring, and then absolutely I would consider doing something low, very low maintenance, broadleaf evergreen, like a Leucothoe. I'm pretty sure I had some Delaware Valley white azaleas at one point, but you know, could actually do, you've got the Fothergilla down there, so you could bring one more, or a grouping of 3 Fothergilla between these two, and then 3 of something over here, and then 3 of something on the right. which is going to kind of fill in down below and give it some interest. So, I don't know, 3 Fothergilla gardeniae, 3 Leucothoe, Celastrus. There's one that stays fairly dwarf and fairly red. That could go here. And then over here, oh, I don't know, Skimmia japonica. Something low, just like 2 feet or less. Have to think about it a little bit. I like Skimmia. I don't know if Skimmia is hardy up here, but I could do Skimmia. I could see that working. Hey folks, how you doing? So we're back at it again, and it's actually the end of the day. I kind of came up and just got to work rather than doing an intro. So I just did want to go ahead and do an intro. So this is going to be part 2. The first part of this video was me talking about some paperwhites at my house, and I think I fed the birds, and I showed you all the frost damage on my plants because I didn't get them in time. So what I'm going to do now is go home and bring them all inside, because this sweatshirt is really not enough. It's dropping fast, so I want to get all those plants inside. So that's going to be part 3 of the video, but this is going to be part 2, and I'm going to do a little bit more pruning here. Unfortunately, I didn't get done as much as I would have liked to, partly because of the camera, and I think I said in the last video, you know, pruning these overgrown shrubs just wipes me out, because every prune is a decision on my part. So we did make progress, and that's all that matters. But let me just show you what we got done, and I got to get home and get all my plants inside. So this is the end result after day 2, and I apologize if the picture's pixelated. The sun is just going down below the house there, and I can't do anything about it. But I did clean up the holly here. I did clean up the 2 olgas here, and then I did give a severe pruning to the Enkianthus on the corner of the house. And of all the shrubs I pruned, the Enkianthus was by far the easiest, because it was kind of like a mushroom. So I just whacked the sides off, thinned out the middle a little bit, and I like how it looks. You know, hopefully next year we'll get some more growth coming down lower. But you know, we hacked and whacked, and with a shrub, a landscape this age, that's what happens. So you can see the garbage pile is growing. Maybe I can come here another couple days without my big truck, but eventually that big truck is going to need to come through so I can throw all this junk on it. I got one more Enkianthus over here to prune. I've got the 1 or 2 olgas over there, 1 holly over there, Enkianthus. So maybe a couple more days of pruning, and then we can start wrapping things up. Got the Virginia creeper out in the back here, and I think part of the film was about how you got to be careful you don't damage the siding when you're pulling that stuff out. So I do have a tool. There's a siding tool where you can lift the siding and slip that back under. So I'll bring the tool, but you know, that came out, and you can see the paint changed. This one moved a bit too, but that's an easy fix. And I'm pretty sure that is the oil fill for the house. So now when the guy comes to fill the oil, you know, there's nothing worse than on a snowy day or a rainy day when you brush a shrub and just get covered in water. So hopefully that'll help them out. All right, folks, so that's going to do it for today up here. I'm going to jump in the truck and head home and see if I can get my plants inside, and that's going to be part 3 of this little series for one day. But please do me a favor, you know, leave me a comment, hit the like button, hit the unlike button. You know, let me know you're watching. Let YouTube know you're watching. The more you watch the video, the more, you know, likes the video gets. Hopefully YouTube will, you know, recommend my channel to others. So thanks for watching today, folks, and we'll see you tomorrow for some more. All right, folks, we are going to do our first Name That Plant. So go ahead and write down what you think this plant is, and at the start of the next video, we will reveal what it is.